0407Z. The Sea of Okhotsk is wrapped in fog thick enough to swallow entire ships. Out there, two destroyers close in, one flying the Stars and Stripes, the other Russia's tricolor. Without warning, steel cuts through mist. The Russian destroyer veers straight across the bow of the USS McFall, barely 50 yards of ocean between them. A heartbeat's delay, and the Pacific would have lit up like a war zone. Engines roar, deck alarms scream, cameras roll. The footage that flashes across Pentagon screens hours later will be replayed around the world. But this wasn't an accident. It was a message, and what followed pushed both navies to the edge of a shooting war. 0407Z, north of the Kuril Islands, the USS McFall, DDG-74, cuts a steady course through mist so dense it turns radar into a lifeline. Inside the Combat Information Center, sailors lean over glowing screens, tracking faint echoes of merchant vessels moving along the shipping lanes. It's calm, procedural, until one of those echoes starts accelerating. A watchstander snaps upright. The contact isn't a merchant at all. It's the Admiral Tribbitt's, Udaloy class, barreling in at 25 knots. Voices overlap, orders fly, and the bridge suddenly feels 10 degrees hotter. The fog outside is a wall of gray, but through it, a shape begins to loom. Black hull, white wake cutting closer. Range under 100 yards, radar operators shout over the comms. The helmsman slams engines astern. The deck shudders. Unsecured mugs crash to the floor. On the bridge, the captain grips the railing as the Russian ship slices across the bow, a deliberate near collision meant to send a warning. 50 yards. That's all that separates diplomacy from disaster. Onboard cameras catch everything. The spray, the roar, the Russian hull sliding past like a steel cliff. Within minutes, the footage is transmitted to the Pentagon and 7th Fleet headquarters. Analysts can't believe the proximity, closer than any surface intercept in years. The fog closes back in. Both ships drift apart pretending nothing happened. But everyone aboard McFall knows this wasn't just bad seamanship. It was bait. Was this just intimidation or the start of something larger? 0415Z. The sea is calm again, but inside McFall's Combat Information Center, the calm feels wrong. Monitors flicker, radar sweeps ghost across the screens, and suddenly the room's low hum turns to static chaos. Every band, from navigation to communications, begins to distort. The ship's electronic warfare officer knows that sound. Jamming. Through the static, a garbled transmission breaks in. A Russian voice, half English, half noise. U.S. vessel, unsafe, change course. It's not a warning. It's theater. A performance, broadcast for whoever's recording on the other side. The team switches frequencies. Nothing. GPS signals jump 10 miles off. The Aegis radar suite tries to recalibrate, but strange reflections bounce back. Phantom aircraft appearing, then vanishing. They're spoofing our return, someone mutters. Feeding us ghosts. The captain orders a shift to encrypted backups. Link 16 lights up again, patched through the 7th Fleet headquarters in Yokosuka. Across the Pacific, analysts trace the interference to a 30-mile jamming radius, classic Russian electronic warfare tactics. In the chaos, calm voices dominate. Counter jam, cycle frequencies. The EW team dials in precise offsets using the ANSL Q32V3 array, pushing through the noise. Slowly, one by one, systems stabilize. Communication restores through satellite fallback. The crew exhales, but nobody relaxes. Out there in the fog, the Admiral Tribbitt's keeps silent, prowling at low speed. Its antennas glow faintly red against the horizon. Every sailor aboard McFall knows this was no accident. This was a probe, a test of how blind they could make an American warship. Could the U.S. crew trust what they saw on their screens anymore?
0430Z. The radar haze clears just long enough for McFall's SPY-1D to catch two fast-moving blips slicing in from the north. Seconds later, the ship's lookout spots them, two Russian Su-24 bombers skimming barely 200 feet above the waves. They close the distance at nearly 480 knots, twin engines howling like thunder rolling across the Pacific. "Air contact! Inbound! Low and fast!" shouts the watch officer. Sirens erupt. Sailors on deck look skyward as the jets streak overhead, close enough to rattle loose metal fittings. The Aegis system tracks them flawlessly, assigning fire control solutions within seconds. But no missiles are armed. Not yet. Nearby, a U.S. Navy P-8A Poseidon scrambles out of Misawa Air Base, racing to the scene. Its crew trains infrared cameras on the encounter, every frame timestamped for the Pentagon. The sky crackles with silent tension. No one speaks on the bridge. The captain's hand hovers over the comm switch, but never presses it. Silence is the safest response. Below deck, the Phalanx CIWS system hums on standby, its 20mm barrels tracking autonomously, ready to erupt if anything crosses the invisible line of engagement. The Russian jets sweep past again, banking wide, their wingtips almost kissing the ocean spray. Then, one of them pops a flare. A bright orange streak curls downward, mocking, deliberate. Both ships hold their fire. The silence afterward feels louder than gunfire. The crew doesn't celebrate restraint. They just watch the horizon, waiting for the next move. Would the next pass stay harmless or cross the line into combat? 0445Z. In the Combat Information Center, the tension has become routine, and that's the dangerous part. Orders come down from 7th Fleet. Maintain course. Log every second. No retaliation, no deviation. The crew knows what that means. Washington is watching now. On the secure line, voices from PACCOM and Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force cut through the static. It's an emergency coordination call patched across continents. Satellite feeds show both destroyers still pacing each other, 8 nautical miles apart, holding a thin thread of peace. Then, on Russian state media, grainy clips surface within the hour. U.S. warship provokes dangerous incident in the Pacific. It's propaganda, timed perfectly. The crew watches the headlines roll across their internal monitors. Everyone understands the information war has already begun. Inside the CIC, an officer quietly asks the captain, "Captain, do we arm the SM-2s?" The silence that follows feels like an explosion. The captain's reply is steady. "Negative. We don't give them the picture they want." Still, he knows that one lock-on from their fire control radar could turn this standoff into an international flashpoint before breakfast. As the hours drag, every heartbeat feels heavier. The sea outside glows faintly from the dawn, but inside, the air is electric, waiting, listening, holding. The order remains, steady as she goes. Could discipline hold under rising pressure and global attention?
600Z. The first light spreads across the horizon, and so does the response.
15.
Hundreds of miles away, the USS Ronald Reagan carrier group alters course north, engines pushing 30 knots. The message is silent but unmistakable. The Pacific Fleet is awake. On board the McFall, tension eases only slightly as new radar contacts bloom. FA-18E Super Hornets in combat air patrol formation, 200 nautical miles out. The carrier's drones, MQ-4C Tritons, begin circling high above both destroyers, recording every movement in crisp, time-stamped detail. The footage will later roll through intelligence briefings, frame by frame. Then, without warning, the Admiral Tributes slows. Its engines drop to 10 knots. A burst of coded light flashes across the water, a Morse transmission, declaring routine exercise. Just like that, the game resets. The Russian vessel turns east, its radar emissions fading into the static of open ocean. The McFall maintains course. No cheers, no celebration. They've won nothing, but avoided everything. Every sailor aboard knows the restraint shown today will never make headlines, but it prevented one. Hours later, in Washington, a quiet communiqué leaves the Pentagon. A diplomatic warning, short and cold. Never again this close. The message reaches Moscow before dawn. Still, as satellites track both fleets drifting apart, analysts wonder, Was this the end of a dangerous encounter, or just the first rehearsal for something far bigger? But was this encounter truly over, or just the first rehearsal? In the end, no shots were fired. No one died. Yet in those few fog-choked hours, two destroyers reminded the world how fragile peace on open water can be. One reckless maneuver, one radar lock, one misread signal, and the Pacific might have burned. Technology, training, and precision saved the day, but so did restraint. The McFalls crew proved that discipline under pressure can be a stronger weapon than missiles or steel. In a region where inches and seconds define peace or war, clarity and calm will always be the real deterrent. If you want more real-world Navy encounters told with precision and intensity, subscribe and join our watch crew for the next mission. Because out here, in the world's most contested waters, timing isn't everything, it's survival.